Capitalism, socialism, and communism are much more than simple words. They represent different ways of organizing life in society, both politically and economically. Each one tries to answer the same question: who should control resources, and how should they be distributed among people? In capitalism, the foundation is the idea of a free economy, also called a free market. In this model, individuals and private companies have the freedom to own goods, create businesses, produce goods, and offer services, all in search of their own benefit. The price of these products is not decided by the government, but by the natural game of supply and demand. If many people want something, the price rises. If few want it, the price falls. In addition, business owners are free to hire people to work in exchange for a salary, creating a network of exchanges that drives society. The great attraction of this system is the promise that the more you strive and innovate, the greater your rewards may be. Socialism, on the other hand, presents a very different vision. In it, the state, the government, controls and manages almost everything, from factories that produce goods to services, land, natural resources, and even their distribution. The central idea is that everyone receives equally, reducing social differences. Wages tend to be defined based on what each person needs to live, and not by how much they produced. This means that, in theory, there would be no major inequalities. Everyone would be in a more leveled position. Communism, in turn, takes this idea even further. In this system, it is neither the individual nor the government who controls, but the collective. In other words, the working class itself would own everything. The fruits of everyone's labor would be gathered in a collective basket and then redistributed according to each person's needs. In its ideal form, there would be no rich or poor, but a community where all share the results of common effort. Each model, however, brings advantages and disadvantages. The greatest positive point of capitalism is the constant incentive for innovation and growth. Since profit is directly linked to performance, companies and people strive harder to improve, create new things, and achieve better results. This can generate stronger companies, more jobs, and, as a consequence, more taxes for the government to invest in schools, hospitals, infrastructure, and the country's development. In the long term, this can lead to visible economic growth, expressed in higher GDP. At the same time, capitalism has a dark side, the risk of exploitation. Because the pursuit of profit is so intense, a few may concentrate most of the wealth and power, while many receive only a small portion for their work. This inequality can be made worse by globalization, when companies use cheap labor in poorer countries to sell expensive products in developed nations, creating a deep gap between rich and poor. Another danger is monopolies, when a few companies dominate almost the entire market and control prices and conditions for their own benefit. Socialism, on the other hand, offers as its main advantage the attempt to create a fairer and more equal society, where everyone has access to decent living conditions and similar opportunities, regardless of their origin or social position. By leveling the playing field, this model seeks to reduce divisions between rich and poor. However, its great fragility lies in the lack of incentive for individual productivity. If everyone receives almost the same, regardless of effort, there may be less motivation for people to innovate or dedicate themselves beyond the basics. In practice, countries that applied more socialist models have faced, in some cases, high levels of corruption when authorities use their power to create laws and policies that benefit themselves, distorting the system's original goal. Communism, although it emerged as a utopian vision of total equality, faces enormous challenges in the real world. The idea of abolishing private property and placing everything under collective control seems fair in theory, but in practice raises difficulties of organization, incentive to produce, and even preservation of individual freedoms. In the end, none of these models, when applied in a pure and isolated way, can offer a perfect balance that benefits everyone equally. History shows that perhaps the most sustainable path is to combine elements of each, taking advantage of their strengths and reducing their weaknesses. Thus, instead of choosing only between capitalism, socialism, or communism, many nations try to find an intermediate point, where it is possible to guarantee both economic growth and social justice.